Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, our show is now over 8 years old. Wow, that is a long time. Long time. So each week we try to help business owners learn something about their business. Everybody once in a while asks, why is the show called Ask Brien? My name is Peter. How did it come up with Brien? We're not going to go through that whole analysis. You'll have to listen to the show a few times to figure out, because we'll give you bits and pieces each time. But, we have a great guest today, so I want to get to that guest. And everyone wants to know why Brien is spelled with an E. Because Brien is usually B-R-I-A-N or B-R-Y-A-N. Why is it B-R-I-E-N? And why is, I'm not Irish, although technically I do have a relative from Ireland, but I don't consider that to be Irish. But anyway, here we are, and we have a show each week, and we have our co-host, Alex Grossman. Alex, you there?
I am here, Peter.
So
Good
what
to
is
talk to you.
what is the number one reason why Brien has an E in it?
The number one reason why Brien has an E is because of the enthusiastic nature that you entail in every show.
Or excitement! But Alex,
And I've said it before, eardrums. We need eardrums after that, yes.
well, that's true. But anyway, the number one reason, and we all know this, and you're going to learn this after you're on the show a few times, but the number one reason why we have an E in Ask Brien is because of our engineer.
Yay!
Because we
Hi,
couldn't
guys.
do the show without an engineer. Thank you, Jen.
That's true. You're welcome.
All
Happy to
right.
be here.
All right. And, Alex, what are the other reasons why we have an E in Ask Brien?
You know, my main reason for an E in Ask Brien is because of experts.
And
What do we have to do with experts?
well, do you know what an expert is? What's the definition of an expert according to the Ask Brien algorithm?
I believe an expert is you, Peter, but for the most part, isn't that someone with 10,000 hours of expertise in their field?
Well, it's 10,000 hours, and it's how we calculate it. We feel that most people, after 5 years doing something, they'll learn something about that subject. And how do you get to 10,000 hours? Well, if you're working 40 hours a week, 40 hours a week, and 50 weeks in a year, 50 times 40, that's 2,000, times 5 years is 10,000 hours. So if you have 10,000 hours, you will be considered an expert. Now, you can be an expert in 2 years if you work 5,000 hours, right? So it's not a term of how many years, but how many hours you have doing something, okay? And our guest definitely has over 10,000 hours, not even close, but our guest does have that. What are the other reasons why we have an E in Ask Brien?
I think it's really all about, as I said, the entertainment. You're such an entertaining guy, Peter. It's incredible.
Well, that's true, but what do we like to do each week, Alex? We like to educate.
Edumacate. Edumacate. Exactly.
Educate,
That's
exactly.
right. Edumacate.
Exactly, educate. And we try to teach people something about business. Our goal is that each week, if you can learn something, then we've accomplished our goal. We are the Sesame Street of business.
Okay, Big Bird. I get that.
You
yeah.
do remind me of Grover a little bit, yeah.
I thought I was Ernie.
Well, that's it.
Where's Bert? Well, that's something. But also, most of the people that are on our show are what do you call those people? Besides experts, Alex? Entrepreneurs.
Peter, what do you call them?
An entrepreneur.
Entrepreneurs. Oh.
That's right. That's
Is
exactly.
that a term we know really well?
Well, we make pretend we do. You know.
Okay.
Remember, even though it's called Brien, okay, we're not the O'Brien pub down the street where you go every night. I know you like to go there, have a couple beers, and have those rosy cheeks, Alex. But not everybody does that. So, and I think that there's plenty of other E's, experience, etc. But we do have a great guest, and the guest is like going, I'd like to get on with this already. Thanks. I heard 10 minutes of news, 10 minutes of this, 10 minutes of that. Where's my 10 minutes of fame? Well, you're going to have a little bit more than 10 minutes. And I don't know, is it James or Jimmy? What's our...
You may call me James. When I'm in trouble, it's usually Jimmy or Jimbo.
we're going to
Or
call
James
you
Michael.
from Good Times. Jimmy Walker, remember him?
There you go. Dynamite.
Exactly. You know him, man. All right. That's the kind of thing I have. So now, people don't know who you are. So first, I just want to go quickly over your background, and then we're going to go right into an interview. But just give like a little summary. I know you had some military background, and then you got into the website business, whatever. So quickly go over your background, and we're going to ask you some questions.
Well, certainly. I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. Ended up going to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was a tank commander. When I ended up getting out, I started to go to college, started my business at the same time. I put a couple of ads in the local paper. I started getting some advertising, and then the business took off. So I started a graphic design business, and in its early inception in 1992, websites were just starting on America Online, if you remember that old service, AOL.
I still have an AOL account.
So I took the plunge and I said, you know what, I can do this. So I learned how to do it in the weekend, how to make it, how to upload a page and all that. And then I put an advertisement in the paper, and then my business was born. And after that, I just proceeded to go through, and I do continuing education all of the time. I try to learn something new every day, try to steer someone else in the right direction. And I look at each project as hopefully a custom solution to whatever the pain points are for that particular business owner. So over 30 years, I've been doing this, dealt with a lot of issues along the way, but it always seems to work out in the end.
So a couple of things. So you said you were going to college, okay, and you started the business. So how did you do that? I mean, you have to get your schoolwork done, right? And you have to learn at school, and if you have a project and stuff, and at the same time you have deadlines for people because they want things done. So how were you able to balance that out?
Well, like every entrepreneur, you know that there's no such thing as a 40-day or 40-hour work week. So I would go to school. I would make sure that I educated myself, make sure that I ate well. I got up a couple of hours early, went to bed a few hours late, didn't sleep a lot during that time. But it was well worth it. You know, if you can put the grind in and work the extra time, but make sure that you're very detailed. A lot of people, they'll make lists, and they don't go through and complete those lists. You know, they save it for the next day, the next day, the next day. So when you get up that morning and you have your list, you say, I need to do these 3 things. There may be 50 on that list, but I'll say, I need to do these 3 things. And then once I accomplish those 3 things, I'm okay for the rest of the time.
Now, did you go to college to become a graphics person, or you going to college for like general?
So I used to draw a lot when I was a kid and paint, and I do oils and acrylic paints, and I used to airbrush. And when I was actually in the Marine Corps on the weekends, I was stationed out here in 29 Palms, California, and I would go to Yucca Valley and had a swap meet there, and I would actually airbrush T-shirts. So I started my first business before my existing business, After Dark Grafx, which is the website business. It was called Airbrush Images, and I used to paint on T-shirts, jean jackets, leather jackets, all kinds of stuff. And then I used to get people that would ask me if I would do their RVs and then their trucks and things like that. So I started doing that, but I just didn't have enough time or the resources at the time because I was always being deployed or going somewhere. So I had to kind of nix that business in the bud and find something else that could be less laborious.
So how do you go from, it's one thing I can draw a picture or do something on an oil painting, but, now it sounds like almost CAD or something along those lines. How do you make the transition to the computer? Because the computer, for instance, even when I go to the counter and I sign my signature for that bill for the restaurant, and I sign my name, it's like that's the worst signature I've ever used. How do you make that transition?
Well, everything is a tool, so a pen's a tool, piece of paper is a tool, computer's a tool. So by taking, the artwork and going the next level, I first started actually using a tablet with an actual a Wacom pen that you really couldn't see anything on the tablet itself. You had to look at the computer while you were drawing. So there definitely is a little barrier to entry when you start transitioning into moving your artwork into that medium. It's just palette, if you will. But then getting into the programming side, when I was 14 years old, my mother gave me a Commodore 64 for Christmas, and I taught myself how to program basic language on it. After that, I started learning Pascal and Fortran and a couple of the other programming languages, and then I eventually just melded the computer side of my life with my artistic side and said, there's a business here. Let me see what's available. And then I said, oh, web design, let's try this out. You know, you when you transition, you kind of go from this artistic view of how things are done on paper and on canvas to how things are controlled into almost like a box. You know, when you get on to creating a website, you have these, okay, I have to put these items in this particular area, these items in this particular area. How can I make this look nice? How can I make it work together? So that's how the computer side came into play, the websites.
So you started out in graphics design, and then you got into website development. That's correct?
Correct.
All right. So
that's correct. Yeah, I used to do brochures and business cards. We still do logos, still create things. I just don't do a lot of printing anymore, but we will, you know, we can create a brochure if somebody wanted one. We can create those things, but you can go on some of those other services that are out there, that are readily available, that are pretty discounted, and you can get a pretty good job there.
So when you're starting out, right, not too many people know about websites. I mean, I don't even know if they had Amazon back in the day when you started. So how do you get clients? You know, you put an ad in a newspaper, that limits yourself to the newspaper circulation. How are you able to build a business out of that?
Well, if we're talking about then, it was more word of mouth. And every time I would finish a project, I would just ask the client if they had someone else that was interested in the service. I'd never try to take it on while I was doing a project because I wasn't capable of, you know, working on a couple of projects at the same time at that period of time because I was at school. But I was always ask them, say, hey, you know, if you have anyone else that's interested, you know, here's my business card. And I give them 5 or 10 business cards. And then I would actually go out on the weekends and I'd hit the pavement and I'd stick postcards into business parks. I'd stick them in windows. I'd stick them into doorways, you know, anywhere, you know, restaurants, places like that. I'd go in and try to the owners or the managers of places. I'd walk other business parks and walk into dental areas, and sometimes they'd say no solicitors, and I'd just turn around and I would just throw my business card on the table, and things like that. And it ended up, you know, I get a lot of calls. I get people asking questions. I'd have people that would call me and say, you know, I appreciated that you left your information. I'm not interested in it, but I do have someone I know who is. So it ended up just becoming this thing. And then when the advent of the online advertising came around, it was a no-brainer to just kind of start putting some paid ads and some other things out there at the time to get people to, you know, go to your website, look at your services. And it was very basic in nature at the time, but it worked.
All right, so now we're going to take a small pivot. It's right along the same course. I'm a business owner. I have my local furniture store in Newhall, California, okay? And I've had the website up now for 10 years. I don't think I'm getting any business out of it. What do you think are the 5 most important things that somebody needs for their website?
Well, the first thing is to evaluate and see if the actual look at the website and see if it is user friendly. You know, when you go on your website every day, you may be clicking around and you know how it works. But you should have complete strangers go onto the website and see if there's anything wrong with it. Ask them if, you know, does this look good? Does this look professional? You know, is it easy to navigate? Can you get around? You know, can you easily find information that you're looking for, and can you contact me? Do you understand what I'm selling and what I'm offering? So those are all the things that you initially do for the website itself. Then on the marketing side of it, you want to enlist a multi-tiered approach for marketing. So if you're going to start marketing your business, understand, obviously, you know what your service is, you know what your product is, but how do you reach your demographic? So you reach them by contacting companies and getting yourself set up with a digital marketing company like ours that'll help you with pay-per-click marketing, where you actually pay for ads on Google or Bing or some of the other larger search engines. You do direct email campaigns. You ask for reviews when you're finished working with clients. You do organic search engine optimization, where you are focusing on content and keywords and things that people are searching for online to get to your business. Pretty competitive. That particular service takes a long time, but it's very valuable to do that. E-marketing, signing up for MailChimp or Constant Contact, or vertical response. There are a lot of different types of email marketing services out there and software for you to do that. But every time you have these campaigns, you should have your goal in mind. What is my response rate? What am I looking for? Should also do A/B testing when you're advertising, whether it's your pay-per-click marketing or your email marketing. A lot of the times what we'll do is we'll put up one advertisement on a pay-per-click service like Google Ads that says one thing, and then have another advertisement that is for the same product, but it's worded differently and may use different images. We then evaluate the response, and then you can use that response to send out your emails, because you'll get a better click-through rate because you've already tested the market. That's provided you have the budget for that. If you don't, most people will say, okay, here's my widget. Now I need to sell my widget. Who do I sell my widget to? You can go out and you can use services like Apollo.io or other sales tools online where you can generate sales leads, get email addresses, contact information, things like that. I recommend you sign up for your local Chamber of Commerce, go and attend meetings. We are part of veteran-owned businesses, as well as the Veterans and Business Network and some other organizations, and we get referral business through them as well. You can also ask them for their email lists or get onto an email list that they send out and possibly recommend you. You can host functions. So there are a lot of different ways that you can market your website, market your business. But the first thing is your website needs to look good and it needs to function correctly.
How many people do you think you need? 5 people, 10 people, 50 people to look at your website to decide whether or not you've got what you think is going to be successful? Because unless you have a big budget, that's a hard thing to do, right? So how would you know that? How would you know that your website is, you can't just say one person. One person may have a great understanding of websites. One person may not know what they're doing.
Exactly. So what you do is you poll as many people as you can. You can actually hold a poll on your Facebook page or on other social media accounts that you may have, and then offer some kind of, reward, something small, maybe it's a hamburger to somewhere special like someone did for me, or it's something that, can be any kind of offer. So like, for instance, I'm, selling digital marketing services. I may create an email campaign for them for free, if they give me their feedback, or if they win the feedback from the poll or from the survey. There are also companies out there that will, for a fee, will review your website and give you feedback and information. And then there's companies like ours that will look at your website and do that for free for you and say, hey, it's a pretty good start, but I recommend the following: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and here's how you can implement those, or you can hire us to do it.
So how do I know if I'm I own the furniture store in Newhall and I haven't gotten any sales, I'm bringing it to you. How do I know, because the fear that I would have as the owner of that furniture store and bring it over to a web development company is they're going to figure out a way, come up with a plan, and I'm going to have to spend lots of money, right? So how do I know that it's, being done, not for the sale and more for, the integrity is there, that it's going to be done correctly?
Well, that's where you check the reviews for the companies. You also ask for referrals from that business. You ask for anyone else that's worked with them. And then you ask for a detailed outline of what they're going to do and what they're going to accomplish. And when they do it and they present the final product to you and say, hey, here's your website. And then you can say, well, here's the checklist you gave me. Is all of this completed? And they say yes. And you if you could say, yeah, okay, I'll just take that with a grain of salt, or you can have somebody that that may be a computer person or somebody internally, or hire another company to kind of look at that work to see if it's done correctly.
Well, that's really good. All right, we got to take a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS, 1220 AM, 98.1 FM. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world. That's right. Did you know that, Jimmy? We are like no other station in the world. All right. Alex said to me, Peter, I'm the co-host. You're hogging all the time. I want to ask a question. So, Alex, go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you, Peter. I was just sitting back getting educated, but of course, for James, there's always 5 or 10 great questions. I always feel you have to ask someone about what do you need really when you're deciding you're going to do a website or you're going to get a web presence. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little, James. So these top questions that you get, whether people know or don't know, how important are they? First question they'll ask you is, well, I want a website, but I don't want that in that WordPress because I heard that's no good. So what languages do you use and what do you do? How do you approach that? How do you that?
Well, I first ask them, I go, what other platforms have you heard about that you are thinking about using? There are pros and cons to every platform. You can use, if you're selling products, you can use Shopify or BigCommerce or WooCommerce, WordPress. There's all kinds of systems out there, eCart, xCart, 3D Cart, Miva Merchant. There are many, many, many e-commerce sites out there. There are many platforms. If you want to be able to edit your website easily, I'll give you, for instance, you have a good, better, best, right? You have a small business. You only need a presence with About Us page, us, and a couple other things. You really don't need a WordPress website because there's some management there. There's some things that you need to keep updated. You can go on to Squarespace or Wix or go on to one of those WYSIWYG builders. That's what you see is what you get is that acronym. So you can utilize those websites to make something basic, but just remember you're going to get something basic. They all provide templates that are out there that you can pick, but remember, you're like everyone else. So if you don't care about that, by all means, go for it.
And I think that leads us into something else, though. Let me, before you do, lead into something else because you hit on something really important there. It's how big of a web presence do you need? If you have an e-commerce store and you're selling 10 items, well, that's a lot easier than to have an e-commerce store and you're selling 1,000 items, right? So that's going to lead you into the technology, and hopefully you're the expert that people are going to turn to. And how do they know that you can do that? I mean, is it a by example? Do you give them a look at this page that I did for someone else, or how do you go about convincing people what they need based on the size of what they have?
Well, I first find out about their business and find out what their pain points are and what they need and what they require. I then tell them to provide a few of the websites that they really like, what they're, what do you like about them, and then I look at the actual systems that those are running on. So if they're having a very, basic, I have a product, it's this color, it's this size, and I only need to place, have orders placed, and then I can download them or I can manage them on that website, and then I can process that order easily all within the same system, then systems like Shopify or those will work for you. They have pre-built templates. They have templates you could purchase from within their ecosystem. And then they have also a very fluid and expandable app store and marketplace where you can add functionality to your website that will allow it to do additional things in addition to the theme. But going from 10 products to thousands of products is expandable depending on what you're trying to do. So it all relates into how you operate your business. If I am a retailer and I have a point-of-sale system in-house and I need to connect to my website and it needs to be very basic, then I can go with one system. If I need some bells and whistles and I want complete customization of my website later or to do this and log in and do that and whatever other functionality, then another system would be available. And then we also would show them different examples of here is a website we did this for, here's a website we did that for. But it's ultimately what they require, and if, once they get that platform, can they expand on it? Is it flexible? Some people will start using a platform and then a year down the road, 2 years down the road, realize that it's been okay, but it hasn't been perfect for what they need. So we'll actually get clients that are in the starting phase and the middle phase or already at a phase where they have their complete system integrated, but now they're having a bunch of pain points and they have to go backwards or choose another system or expand or enhance their existing system.
That makes perfect sense. So a couple things leading on from there. Most of us that are entrepreneurs, and that's a lot of our listening audience, people who are small business owners or entrepreneurs, we think we can kind of do it all. We start there, right? We tend to do it. We may start building a site and do this, but I think one of the problems that we all run into is, well, how do we manage it? You know, what do we do once we get it up there? It could be the in the world, but if it doesn't bring people in, it's useless. So there's another piece to that, right? It's you hit on it before. It's the e-marketing or the marketing components, let's say things like SEO. And should people consider that? I mean, should they just go, well, I'm going to stick a Squarespace up there if it's small enough and it's going to go, and do I just expect, build it and people will come? Or what's your experience in that?
Well, it's never been the field of dreams philosophy. If you're going to build it, they're not going to come. So you can make a website today. It could be the most beautiful thing in the world, but if you don't tell anybody about it, they're not going to come there. Building a website is just like having a retail business. If you don't put your balloons out, you don't put your promotional material out, and you're not on a good location where people are driving by and they can see you, then they are not coming into your business. They're not going to purchase. So it's the same thing. So the steps for the website obviously are, create your outline. Then we create the business, the website. Once the website's completed, at that point, when it is completed and working and functional, then it's to proceed with a marketing program. And having a business plan and having a marketing plan, they're not the same thing. You have your business plan, I'm going to do all this stuff, and then I'm going to have my marketing plan. Your marketing plan should be something that you think about and add to, and as it progresses, and say, okay, I'm going to do A, I'm going to do B, I'm going to do C. Don't try to do everything at one time. Some people try to take on, we're just going to blast everything out there. So if you do that and you're not focused on your messaging, then it's a waste of money. So if you're going out there and you're putting stuff on social media and you're not seeing any return on it, it's because you're not, your messaging's wrong. If you're putting stuff out there and you're trying to do, pay-per-clicks, you're paying Google a lot of money for some terms, and you're like, wow, they're spending my budget and I'm not getting anybody, purchasing from my website in here. And, all these situations are different. With the pay-per-click, if you start spending money and people are going to your site and they're not purchasing, it means there's something wrong with the landing page that they're getting to. That brings me back to another thing where when people do market online, they try to send everything to the homepage, and you don't want to send everybody to the homepage. You want to send them to a page that they can understand. I look for this widget. I should go to that widget page, and I should understand what that widget is. If I want to know about your website more, I'll click on your about page. I don't really care. And you don't want to send everybody just to the homepage. So that's how I look at it.
That's fantastic advice. And one more question before I turn it back to Peter is that I have seen that most people who are brick and mortar, so we'll go away from the straight entrepreneur back to our store owner, our furniture store owner. That furniture store owner spent a lot of money getting that corner location with the big signage out there, and they went for those three important things that you have in retail: location, location, location. Well, in the web, what is the equivalent to that? Is it the name? Is it the SEO? Is it the marketing? What's the location equivalent that you have to a retail business?
So when you first start and you're about to launch, I have a business here in San Diego. So the first thing that I want to do is make sure that the Google gods know that I'm here. So I'm going to create a Google business profile, okay, and that requires that you have, a Gmail or a Google account, so that you can actually, that's what you set up first, and then you'll actually create a Google business profile, and you'll put your physical address onto that business profile. You'll put a paragraph about yourself. You'll put your name. You'll put other information. You'll put your address on there. I already said that. You'll put images of the location from outside and from inside of the actual location. That helps as well. And also helps to get reviews on those locations. So when you have people that are coming in, say, to the retail shop, you can have a little card there that says, hey, please review us. Here's a little card, and then have a little QR code on the back that sends them directly to your Google profile page. Or you could, when they do business with you and get a receipt, it could be at the bottom, please review us. Or when you are ordering something online and they get an email back to them, it says, hey, please review us, and here's our link. So you can send them there, and by gaining those reviews on your local business profile will help your business, because people look at reviews obviously first, but it will also tell the Google algorithm that your business is important. People are going there, they're looking at it, they're reviewing you, and that will give you a higher ranking in the local map of Google. So when you do a search, I'm in Chula Vista and I'm looking for auto parts store by me. If I find that you're close because you have more reviews and you're local, you're going to come up first in that area, in that region. So that boils down to how you find people for local searches. And then you expand from there. So once you have your local search set up, you can start other campaigns where you pay a little bit of money for Google pay-per-clicks to get some traffic in the door. And then you an organic search engine optimization campaign where you're focusing on a handful of keywords or more to get you listed in the search engines. So what happens when you create an organic search engine optimization campaign is you focus on those top keywords that people are searching for to find you. They may not be very generic like real estate or automotive company, are very, very generic. So you want to be laser focused and use what is called long tail keywords when you're marketing your business. So if I'm a realtor and I'm in Chula Vista in my zip code, I may be realtor Chula Vista 91914, realtor Chula Vista. And then Chula Vista Realtor is pretty general. So if I can get even more targeted, maybe it's luxury homes 91914. Those kinds of things where you're really focusing it in on that area for you. And after that, you start expanding. So if you're trying to get more of a larger market, then you start going after more of those other keywords, and then you analyze your competition based on those keywords to see how you're actually performing over them. So a lot of this, it's kind of like a mushroom cloud. You know, you start local if you're really trying to get that local business, and then you blow it up outwards and try to get everything else. So in comparison, you'll end up doing in addition to when you do start all of this. So now you've got some pay-per-click, you have some organic going. You're then are going to want to start your email marketing campaigns to send out your offers to your business. So whether it's a discount on a promo or it's just a notification or if it's a thank you, just to start and get that touch out there.
We've got to take a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And now a word from our sponsor.
And we want to say thank you to our sponsor, LegalSteps.com. It's LegalStepz, that's spelled with a Z.com. And I'm listening to James talk with Alex and Peter here. And this is a lot of really great information for somebody who's just getting started, who's had this great idea. It's kind of like a how to start your business 101, all these really great pieces of information, and that's what the show is about, and really that's what Legal Steps is about, kind of like a 101, how to. The courses are very easy to follow, so you're brand new to this and you've got this really cool idea and people have been telling you for months, maybe years, that you should market it and put it out there for the public. And now you're finally going to do it. Well, take one of these courses. You can sign up for a course on how to register a trademark, how to form an S corporation, or how to form an LLC. And I took one of these courses a little while ago, and super easy. You kind of just follow along. You are literally watching the expert on your computer screen. You can see them like a picture-in-picture. So you can see what they're looking at, so you know that you're answering these questions the right way. Sometimes the questions can be a little bit tricky, and maybe you're not totally understanding what the topic is covering. You can pause it. You can rewind it. You can go back and really kind of take notes and learn what you're absorb what you're learning, and doing all of that with the expert basically sitting right next to you. If you get to the point where you're confused and you throw your hands up in the air, that expert can just do it for you. So there's really nothing to lose. And those experts I'm talking about have over 30 years of experience. So you're not getting somebody who's brand new. This isn't just kind of like a fly-by-night thing. These are people who know what they're doing and who have the experience and are willing to help you. And they're going to do it in an affordable fashion. All of those courses that I've talked about are all under $150. So don't let something like $150 get in the way of what you've always dreamed of doing. Go to legalsteps.com, legalstepz.com.
Well, thank you, Jen, and thank you to Legal Steps for sponsoring the Ask Brien radio show. And without any further ado, welcome back to the Ask Brien show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. So, Alex, did you have further, or do you want me to? Because I have a couple of questions too. It's up to you.
I got one more for James, and then I'll let you have it all, Peter. But one question, James, is really you're talking a lot about this integrated marketing that we do with the web, and I love the idea of what you were saying, how in a retail business you can integrate that in as well. What if you're in a service style business where you just want someone to come up and learn more about your services, but you don't really have a product to sell? Is that something, or you're selling your product as your service? Is that something that someone would need to hire a developer for, or to build an app for? And what is an app versus a website important? And how do you manage that? What do you do there?
Well, if it's someone that comes to me and it says, "Hey, listen, I have I'm a personal trainer, and I want to sell my services online," I would first approach them and say, "Well, are you selling your time? Are you selling your one-on-one time? Are you selling a course? Are you going to add other retail elements to this? Like, are you going to add a book or a video or something that you can purchase as well?" But if they're just going to be selling their time, then they can use, basic websites like Wix or Squarespace, et cetera, and then can have a simple plugin for scheduling time with them, and they can bill directly on those websites. Most of them have integrated payments. They can schedule time and pay for it, and right on the website. If they wanted to create courses, there are a couple of things out there like Thinkific, Kajabi, Kajabi. I'm not a spokesman for them, but it's a pretty good platform. But there are other platforms out there that allow you to courses. So if you said, you know what, I'm going to make this course for low-impact training, so I'm going to make a couple of videos, this, that, the other thing, and then I'm going to sell it on my website. So you can do that as well. So if they don't necessarily need a full-blown app, but if they do get to that point, they get very successful. They're selling their time, they're selling their videos or courses, and they're selling their products. Perhaps it's a resistance band, or it's the abdominal wheel or something else, and they start having this whole, this whole calamity of products and services on there. And they said, you know what, I'm really successful now. Now I need an app. So the way that apps are built is that you first obviously have your idea. You want to create an outline just like you do with anything else, just like you're in high school. Hey, when someone clicks on this, I want it to do that. And when someone clicks on this, I want it to do that. And then I want people that log in to be able to have this, and this. I want them to be able to pay for stuff. Is there a way for me to monetize the app? How can I monetize it? Do I add ads within the app, or do I charge a fee for them? Do I do a freemium service where they get the app for free with ads, or do they end up paying $1.99 and get my app and they can use it for a monthly subscription, or they pay $24.95 and they get it for the year? So you have all these options in order to be able to monetize your app. Then you have to decide, now, do I want that app to connect into my website? And do I want that information that's on my website to be available within the app? So that's called a hybrid app. Hybrid apps it looks and acts like a regular app on your phone, but there are pages and there are certain pieces of the app that actually pull from the website. So when you update a product or you update a service or a video, that it's automatically available within the app. When you do decide to create an app, and if you're going to go in that direction, is decide, do I want it for both platforms? So I want it for the Android and for iOS and for Microsoft phones or whatever, but mostly it's Android and iOS. Or do you just want it for one system? Typically what will happen is if we are developing an app, we'll develop on Android first because it's a little more flexible in creating and changing code base and making changes to the app. Then once that version of the app is complete, we send a preview to the client. They can download at it, play with it, and decide, what's the next step. But preceding all of that will create all the design screens that'll be sent over and say, it's going to look like this is the home page, this is the logo, this is the first page, this is the profile page, this is the et cetera, as you go through it. So you'll see the entire design of the app before you proceed. Once you proceed to that development and it's built out into the Android operating system and it looks good and everything, and it's working and it's functioning and it's doing everything you want, and then at that point, it'll be remitted to, it can be, if you decide to, have it remitted to the Google Play Store, and then the development of the iOS version is. Or in some cases, people like to have both of them launch at the same time, so they'll wait till the iOS version is done. Now, say, for instance, that whole thing has been completed and it's almost finished, and you go, you know what? I need this functionality. I'm so sorry I didn't tell you I need this done. An app, unlike a website, is not as easy to go backwards to fix and change functionality. So depending on what you are trying to get changed inside the app, it may be something small, which may be pretty easy, but if it's something that is substantial, you have to kind of go back through the whole process again and to get a quote to update the actual internal functions of the app, because it may affect something else. Something that you want it to do may affect some other function within that app that is doing something else. So it's very good to have a clear idea of what you want, and then think of, your first version of your app is going to be version 1 anyway.
So we got to take a quick break.
Yeah,
sorry, we have to take a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, we're here with Jimmy Dynamite. All right. Are you there, Jimmy? All right. So people have said they liking what you said. They want to find out if they can have a further conversation with you, find out more information. They've got, they got the furniture store. They got all these other places down the street. And they're all asking, how can I further this conversation? So how can people reach you?
They can call us toll free at 1-888-578-8300. That's 888-578-8300. Toll free.
Do you have a website?
Or go to our website. Yeah, or the website, afterdarkgrafx.com, and you can spell it the correct way or the wrong way. So the correct way is afterdarkgrafx.com, afterdarkgrafx.com. But if you spell it as graphics, you'll also get there.
Wow, that's because of your SEO. All right. So we don't have a lot of time. We have about a minute left. So what is the biggest challenge that you had to face? How did you overcome it? And you have 60 seconds. Go.
Wow. Biggest challenge was to be able to juggle becoming an entrepreneur, trying to have a life, go to school, and basically just manage my day-to-day and my health. So by creating priorities, I was able to get myself into a regimen and overcome that. I mean, if you're able to get up every day and be happy with what you're doing and enjoy what you're doing, you'll never feel like you work a day in your life. I know it's a cliche, but it's exactly how I feel.
Well, that is a cliche. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you very much, Alex. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Over and out.